And ultimately, that 1 or 2%, it's that fine margin that changes games and impacts momentum of games, and ultimately can cost you games.
So, Rob, bank holiday crowd, bumper crowd, but we just couldn't quite get it over the line, could we?
Yeah, frustrating afternoon for us. There's parts of the game that we played really well, and then those patches, where we didn't do the basics well enough, and ultimately that's cost us. And I guess chances again that we've kind of not converted, or situations that we've got into that have been really promising, and then that final little bit of quality or the finishing has kind of let us down really. So yeah, it's a difficult one to take. We knew what threats Ashton would kind of pose to us, and for large parts of the second half we dealt with that really, really well. But there was areas of the first half performance that we didn't stick to the plan, the instruction. And that's ultimately cost us in my view.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we came into the game with the news. Obviously, Ollie Byrne, he's having a scan tomorrow. It would have been today, but obviously it's bank holiday. We don't know the extent of the injury. We brought in Ollie Battersby, and you could tell. I think it's obviously the first time he'd pretty much met the players today.
Yeah.
Blatantly obvious with the first goal.
Yeah, I think in the main, I think Ollie's done really well today. It's difficult. You want your back four, your goalkeeper, to develop relationships and have continuity, and that's not always the case. It's unfortunate that Ollie got injured, who's has done really well for us so far, and therefore we needed to get a replacement in, and you can see that in a little bit of indecision and the uncertainty, but I think in the main we kind of dealt with that reasonably well. It does pose certain challenges, and I guess any team that's building and trying to improve and get better, that understanding of individuals, that understanding of each other, what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, why they're going to do it, and allowing players' qualities to come through. And I guess that understanding's really pivotal for that. And that's just a challenge of the situation that we face, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was natural. I mean, so Ashton obviously started on the front foot, but once we sort of conceded the goal, I thought probably for about 20 odd minutes we played really, really well. Basically, sort of like we put the hammer down a bit. Obviously, got the equaliser straight away.
Yeah, what I would say is it's like anything. Goals change games, and they change the momentum and the energy that teams have. And we get our equaliser, and we start to control the game a little bit more, and we're starting to really dominate that middle of the park. And they end up dropping a striker in that gives us a little bit more control. But if I look at the goals that we conceded, both passes of play start from throw-ins, and our intensity and our detail to be organised as we should be, and we know we can be, it wasn't there, and that's the what leads to that particular passage of play that ends up with the ball in the back of our net, and that's not acceptable. That's not good enough. They've been told that. We've set higher standards of that, and up until the last couple of games, we've really improved in our defensive structure and organisation, and that real desire and intensity to recover and get your shape, and we didn't do that, and ultimately that 1 or 2%, it's that fine margin that changes games and impacts momentum of games, and ultimately can cost you games. And for me, that's where the game was lost. The game was lost in two real moments. The second half, completely different complexion. Totally dominated the game. We stick to the structure. We in the first half we got counter-attacked because the shape of the balance wasn't right. In the second half, we don't, because players are in the right position, and therefore we put Ashton under a lot of pressure. Yes, we didn't create as many goal-scoring chances we might have wanted, but we certainly got into the positions, and then that little bit of quality has let us down, really. And the keeper's made a couple of good saves. So yeah, it's frustrating. What do we learn? Well, we learn that the players learn that the instruction has to be followed to the T, and if you're not going to do it, you're not going to play. That's the first thing. The second thing is that our intensity and has to be bang at the top of our game. And in the second half, we kind of did that better. We pressed the ball better. We kept the opposition in, and And I don't actually think the goalkeeper's made a save in the second half, which gives you an idea of the dominance that we've had. So for me, it's the control in the game, and then it's manufacturing them opportunities to really hurt the opposition. We just lacked a little bit of cutting edge at the final hurdle.
Yeah, I mean, sort of like, just to go back to the first half, obviously, sort of lead up to the sort of second goal, you could see there was a couple of times basically where they were overlapping and they were kind of getting that extra man in the box, and there was some very direct, like, hard passing. Basically, it was basically sort of giving us a real challenge and basically just keeping up with the passage of play. The fact that it was a fullback who cut in at the back post. I mean, it was a fabulous finish. Probably 5 times out of sort of like 6 you miss it.
We've done our due diligence in Ashton, and we know what threats they pose, and we know how they want to play, and they're going to put balls in your box. And we've been given clear instructions prior to the game about stopping crosses, and we didn't do that. In the second half, we did that, and we nullified a lot of the threat. And in those 2 moments, we start with throwing, and then they end up with balls into the box. You're win games at this level of football. You can't invite the opposition to put balls in your box, because at this level, defenders make mistakes and teams put pressure on you, and ultimately that can count. And that's exactly what happened. So we've got to be better in them particular situations, and we've got to press the ball and stop crosses with more purpose. And that's not just the fullback, that's the wide player, because they double up, they work together, and we got caught wanting in that particular situation. We set up in a way in the first half that we tried to nullify the threat. The Ashton would try and overload us centrally, and for large parts that kind of worked. But in that one situation, guys got overloaded, and that ball's come in the box, and we've been kind of punished for that. So yeah, it's difficult to take. There's lots that we need to take away, and we need to get right, and we need to get back to what is right in terms of the setup and the style and the structure of our team. Because when we get it right, I go back to the workshop second half performance, I go back to the Whitby performance, it is there. It's that consistency. And I know that bank holiday weekend, 2 games in quick succession, it can be physically quite demanding, but listen, the basics of football are the basics of football, and we didn't do them well enough.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the second half. I mean, I was just sort of hanging around waiting to do the interview, and I was listening to the Ashton staff, and they were thrilled with their second half performance and basically keeping it tight. I mean, they sat in. You could see basically about 60 minutes they sort of like made us up, and they were just letting us come on to a degree. They didn't have a single shot on target in the second half.
No, and you're gonna get that at times. I guess we grown in our momentum. Like I say, the structure of our team was better, and we started to overload them in areas. We started to play with a quicker tempo. We started to pass the ball forward, and therefore that got us that dominance in the game. And they struggled to sort of address that. And then in the end, they've ended up sat in and camped in. And then, they bring Tom Denton up front, who's probably not got the legs to stretch and get in behind, which means we squeeze another 10 yards higher up the pitch, which means we pen them in even more. But we've got to then find those angles of passes to play through the lines. We've got to get in the ball in the tight areas. We've got to create the 1v1s and the 2v2s down the sides, and we've got to get balls in the box. But too many times we get down the sides, and the quality of ball has cost us or let us down. And that's something we've got to keep working at, because teams will do that. What I would say, Ashton defended with real, determination and commitment, and they put bodies on the line. And listen, that's, fair play to them, and well done to them, because that's what's required to win games at this level of football. And yeah, we've given 2 cheap goals away, and for me that's really frustrating today.
Yeah, I mean, we had some good moments. The one that sort of springs to mind is Le Fondra's free kick on the sort of stroke of 90 minutes, where the goalkeeper pulled out a top save to stop that going in. I mean, full stretch it was. Yeah,
the pressure was mounting. It was, can we create that cutting edge? Can we create that ball across the box? I mean, his free kick was a great save from the keeper, but there was other occasions where Joe's got down the side, we've got him behind him, we look to pull the ball back, and that, that final pass, that final weight of pass, or that final angle of that ball's let us down. The defender gets a touch on it. If it falls to Jay, he probably slots that home. It's 2-2 with all the momentum in our favour, with probably 10 minutes to go. It's a completely different complexion, and goals change games. You know, if we'd have scored in that period and then, you know, they'd have been sat in, you struggle to change your style of play then once you bring certain players onto the pitch. And I guess that was the frustrating thing. We couldn't really, you know, get that goal. But I go back to the first half. You know, if we come in at half time, it's 0-0 or it's 1-1. That they can't sit in. You know, the opposition can't just sit there. They've got, and we've let them get something, you know, get in front, which is give them something to be able to hold on to. And we can't do that. We can't do that. You know, and that's why we've got to start games faster, be on the front foot, play with higher energy, play with more tenacity, and dominate them duels more, and get our momentum in the game.
Okay, I mean, looking forward, obviously, you know, we mentioned Ollie Byrne being out for we don't know how long. Obviously, he's having a scan tomorrow. Dante was warming up, didn't come on today.
Yeah.
Obviously, he must be close. How about Donahue?
Yeah. We're hoping that maybe next week those two will be both back available. Listen, we're not having a brilliant time in terms of injuries. You know, I'm not going to stand there and use that as excuses, because I think we've got a squad of really good players. Obviously, it does impact the options, you know, when you turn to your bench and the freshness of your players. Had we had 4 wide players available, we might have picked 2 different wide players, who knows. But yeah, it's not helping things. You know, it does pose certain challenges. We just, you know, got to get them fit as quick as we can, get them back on the pitch so that they can impact the team and support us in obviously improving and scoring more goals and keeping more clean sheets and making progression.
Okay, we've got a few days. Obviously, it's Monday. I keep thinking it's Saturday.
Yeah.
We roll into the high game FA Cup on Saturday. It's going to be another
yeah,
sort of cracking local derby.
We'll look back at the games. I mean, we've got to look back at the guys who won and looked at some of the areas that we were good enough in that particular game, and there'll be some things that are really prominent from today that we need to get better. And yeah, we start to prepare for Hyde. Good side, you know, performing well. You know, they've had a really solid and consistent start to the season. I'm not sure how they've got on today, but yeah, we know that's going to be a good challenge. But yeah, we've got to get on the front foot and we've got to react strongly, and you know, we've got to let our character and our commitment as a group come to the fore, and we've got to turn up, got to get on the front foot. FA Cup's always brilliant to be part of, and yeah, we've got to turn up here on Saturday and be bang at it in terms of to get the win.
Okay, well, it's only 5 days now, so see you Saturday for the FA Cup against Hyde. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Cheers. Thank you.